you know what? Let's go ahead and start things off with a bit of a bang. I want to bring y'all some good news. Before we talk about the leaks and everything else that has been absolutely screwed up, let's talk about something that is actually decent. Something that is actually pretty good, all things considered. Yeah? Let's do that. So, what would y'all say if I told you that right now, the Democratic Party technically has a split? However, that split seems to be working very well in the favor of Bernie Sanders and AOC. Let's go ahead and take a look at this article here. Bernie Sanders and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and the courage to brawl for the working class. Now, I say this as somebody who just got off the phone with my local DSA chapter, having a decently long conversation about workers' rights and other fun stuff, because the reason I haven't gone to my local DSA chapter is because they are so goddamn far away from me. We'll get into that later in the video, but really just a really quick thing. Just a really quick thing for the Atlanta Democratic Socialists of America. There is a game night being held at the office if you would like to go, and I'm going to try to go to the game night in that office. So, like, if y'all are wanting to, like, play Magic and talk about politics, or not talk about politics and just have a good time, that's a thing that I'm going to be trying to go to. Anyway, let's go ahead and continue talking about Bernie Sanders. The Vermont senator and the New York representative are rallying huge crowd with a message to reshape the Democratic Party. This is the shit I've been talking about. This is the shit that I have been wanting. I have been desperately wanting the Democratic Party to realize that it is a broken mess and needs to be fixed. And this is 100% an attempt at figuring that out, an attempt at doing that. At least it seems to be to me. Maybe I'm incorrect. Maybe I am coping hard. But from my perspective, this is something that I really, really would like. I would like to see the Democratic Party become a better representative of the working class, and as of now, lately, it hasn't really been that. But this looks like it's going to be something a little bit better. So let's see what the details are here. Before we get into the details specifically, I want to show y'all something that happened that was kind of interesting. So Bernie Sanders was in the middle of an interview, and the media tried to grab him and say, hey, are you planning on running for presidency? Do you want AOC to join you in the Senate? And I just want you to see how Bernie responded to that.
You're out there with AOC today. Do you see her as a future of the progressive?
We have one of the untold stories of what's going on in current American politics, is that in the House of Representatives, you have dozens and dozens of strong, smart, disciplined, hard-working young people in the Progressive Caucus. And, you know, way back when I first came to the Congress and the House, I helped form the Progressive Caucus. We had 5 people at that time. Now they got close to 100. So you got a whole lot of good people. Alexandria is extraordinary. I am so impressed by her work in Congress, and she inspires young people all over the country.
Would you like to see her join in the Senate?
Right now, we have, as I said, just a whole lot of people in the Congress. Okay, Jonathan, thanks.
Wait, I got one more. This is important.
Well, I asked you.
Okay.
You know, you want to do nonsense, do nonsense.
No.
I don't want to talk about inside the Beltway stuff. I got 32,000 people.
I was just asking you about AOC because she was out there with you.
No, fine, but I don't want to talk about this. What was the last question?
I was just going to ask you one more question about you. I mean, that's all. I was literally your last.
What is your question?
Well, I mean, it's easier to understand.
So, Bernie, when somebody's just like, hey, do you want to talk about the political race stuff? Do you want to talk about bullshit? Do you want to talk about somebody joining you in a different area of Congress, as opposed to, do you want to talk about the good work you're doing? Do you want to talk about the stuff that is actually important. They're like, no, do you want to talk about the rat race? Bernie's just like, goodbye. Fuck you. Fine, I'll come back for a minute. But what are you even talking about, my guy? I am busy doing real work right now with 32,000 other people. And you want to talk about fucking political races. Fuck political races right now. I don't give a shit about politics as usual. It hasn't been politics as usual for months.
I mean, I want to ask you about your future. This is the biggest crowd. You said you ran for president twice. This is the biggest crowd you've ever seen.
Dude's literally sitting there like, man, look at the crowds you made. Are you going to run for president? I really want to get this snippet. I need to get it first. I need to get the you heard it first here, folks. I need that. I need that shit so bad. My guy, shut the fuck up. The news stopped being the thing that's supposed to be the arbiter of the truth a long time ago, but the idea is that the news is supposed to be there to make sure that people know what the hell is up. And when Bernie is saying, hey, we need to reform the party, you're sitting here going, are you going to try to gun for president? This is not what he's here for, my guy. This is the face of a man who is done with your shit. This is a face of a man who is tired of you bullshitting him.
Are we going to see you run again? Or what's your future?
Right now, I am very proud that the people of the state of Vermont sent me back to the Senate with 63% of the vote. Right now, I'm Vermont senator. That's what I do, and I'm very happy to do it. I am 83 years of age, and I'm tired.
Here's what and I don't need to listen to Brian's stuff. I didn't listen to it last time either. Not that I don't like Brian Dyer Cohen. It was just the most convenient place to make sure that I had that clip as I needed it to be. I like the attitude. I like Bernie going, I am over 80 years old. Why the fuck should I be president? There's other shit I need to be doing right now. And make no mistake, he is doing a good job. He is doing a good job at galvanizing the Democratic Party right now, even at his age. Yes, he's got AOC helping him, but fucking Don Lemon is talking about this over on his show as well. Like, I'm sorry. You're doing a good job, Bernie. You're doing fucking great. All right, let's continue the article. Bernie Sanders is not running for president, but he is drawing larger crowds now than he did when he was campaigning for the White House. The message has hardly changed, nor has the messenger. With his shock of white hair and booming delivery, what's different now, the senator says, is that his fears, a government captured by billionaires who exploit working people, have become an undeniable reality, and people are angry. He says, for years, I've talked about the concept of oligarchy as an abstraction. Sanders, an independent who votes with Democrats and twice sought the party's presidential nomination. I do like that they note that he is an independent who works with Democrats. Said in an interview after a joint rally in Temple, Arizona with the New York representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, the Vermont senator recalled Donald Trump's inauguration when the three wealthiest people on the planet, Musk, Bezos, and Zuckerberg, were seated in front of his cabinet nominees in what many viewed as a shocking display of power and influence. He says, you've got to be kind of blind not to understand that you have a government of the billionaire class, for the billionaire class, by the billionaire class. And then on top of all of that, you've got Trump moving very rapidly towards an authoritarian form of society. 2 months after Trump was sworn in for a second term, Democratic activists and an increasingly vocal chorus of voters say they are terrified, angry, and desperate for leadership. In something of a third act, this 83-year-old Democratic socialist is stepping in to fill the void. But his aim is not only to revive the anti-Trump resistance movement, he wants a bottom-up overhaul of the American political system. Yes! This is exactly what I have been aiming for with what I have been arguing for. Now, granted, Granted, I don't know if the way that I want to do an overhaul of the American system and the way Bernie wants an overhaul of the American system would be the same. But like my ideals, my perfect scenario for our next steps, right? I'd like to see ranked choice voting as a next step for us in having a better, more clear, more representative of the people voting system. I think that would do a lot to help dissolve some of the power of the two-party system. And on top of that, I would like to see at a local level many, many, many more of our Republican seats flip Democrat, while the Democratic incumbents who have argued for limp dick policies lose their seats and are primaried. That is my goal. That is what I would like. Those are our next steps. And then, of course, when we have the ability to vote for our House reps in 2026, I would most certainly like to see the same thing happen there. Democratic incumbents who are weak and are not arguing for workers' rights and trans rights and doing a good job at it get primaried by other further left Democrats. And Republicans who are arguing in favor of the oligarchs would lose their seats to similarly left Democrats. Senna says, yes, shift that party philosophy hard to the left, even for the Democrats. Yes, the Democrats are not left enough. I'm sorry. Like, they do not advocate hard enough for single-payer healthcare. They do not advocate hard enough for the rights of minorities. They do not right now. They do not. So I would absolutely adore reformation in the party. And that reformation has to happen from the ground up. You start out getting your local offices moved further Democratic. This makes your local voting look more blue. The more blue your local voting looks, the more welcome to voting blue your local populace is. The more welcome to voting blue your local populace is, the more likely they are to engage in voting in the primaries because they think they actually fucking matter. The more you can get the populace to vote in the primaries, the more you can get an actual voice of the populace in whichever candidate you get, as opposed to the default candidate that the Dems just send in from the state. Then, once you have your populace primed to go out and go to the polls and vote, you can get more Democrats in office in positions where they normally would not be able to. But you've got to galvanize that. You have to galvanize those voters. And obviously, there's infinitely more that needs to be done besides voting. Because advocacy like this doesn't work if you're just saying vote, vote, vote. It simply does not work. Voting alone does not and never can work. You need to make sure you are doing more. Doing these rallies is the Democrat side of doing more. It is better. However, there's certainly more that needs to be done on our own end. We need more boots that are willing to be on the ground and are willing to engage in protests, because that puts more people who are disenfranchised with each other to network in a way that is more secure than the Signal app. Not that I'm trying to burn our current presidency and its use of the Signal app, but I'm definitely trying to burn our presidency and its use of the Signal app. You get those people together and willing to organize again. You need people who can make it a habit to become politically involved. The problem is most of us try to argue against being politically involved, and then we go and vote sometimes. You have to get people more involved in politics, more willing to canvass, more willing to phone bank, more willing to write laws themselves, more willing to engage in protests and activism, more willing to get together and not only talk about change, but start taking the steps to enact it. And once you have all of that, you need to start wrapping it in a nice, tidy bow of class consciousness. Once everybody is ready and galvanized and they're willing to move, then you start making sure that class consciousness is broadened so that they know where to move. Paige says, what do you think of the gubernatorial primary system in California? The two most popular get on the ballot, regardless of party, meaning the right could lose it all before the actual election. I have no idea if it's good or not. Not even a little bit educated in how well or bad that system works, how resilient it is to gerrymandering, none of that. I don't have an opinion on that because I have not done research on that specifically. Continuing with the article, now that I've given my rant on, like, my ideal for the next steps for America, because, like, the end goal for me is socialism. The end goal for me is workers owning the means of production. The end goal for me is there not being the capacity for an oligarch. The end goal for me is the money being in the hands of the people, not where it is right now. 1% of the United States currently owns 60% of the fucking wealth. My goal is for that to shift. Like, just as a fun aside, before we continue with the article, just as a fun aside, what would you do if you made double the amount of money you did right now? Because that's the world you would live in if the uber rich in the United States were not the uber rich in the United States. Obviously, you would need to make sure that you couldn't have them anywhere. But if you made double your salary, if you made double your hourly wage, how much of a positive impact would that have on your life? If that would have a positive impact on your life, then you and I are in the same boat. You and I should be on the same side. Unfortunately, voters tend to vote against their best interests because they hedge their bets, and they don't think that socialists have a chance of winning. So it's on us to change the idea of what a socialist is. Anyway, back to the article. Bernie says, it's not just oligarchy that we're going to fight. It's not just authoritarianism that we're going to fight. Sanders told an arena full of supporters in Arizona State University on Thursday night. He said, we will not accept a society today in which we have massive income and wealth inequality, where the very rich have never done better while working families are struggling to put food on the table. Dorito says, I feel called out. Why? Is it because you make more money than me? I'm kidding. For weeks, voters have been showing up at town halls to vent their alarm and rage over the president's aggressive power grabs and the Musk-led mass firings for federal workers. Yeah, I actually went to the town hall that was hosted by Nikema Williams that was literally called It's Us or Musk. And obviously, I have opinions on how that town hall went. I did a video about it with Vice Rhino. I chose not to do that video twice because why would I work twice when I literally did all that work and put it all on Blue Sky? By the way, go check out my Blue Sky. You could literally just go over here and just there you go. There it is. sirsamu.bluesky.social, and that will give you can find that thread where I talked about my experience at that town hall. Then it says, but they are also furious that the Democratic leadership charging that their party spent an entire election season warning of the threat of Trump posed to the U.S. democracy, and then now appeared either unable or unwilling to stand up to him. Yeah, what the Democratic Party did functionally was argue, vote for us because Trump will be bad, and then did not put anything in place to make sure that Trump being bad had less impact. As an example, making sure that abortion rights were enshrined by Congress as opposed to just by the judicial system would have been a really good idea. But unfortunately, women lost rights to their own body because the Democrats were like, we won. We got it. It's fine. Abortion care. We did it. Roe v. Wade did its thing. And then it got overturned. They also expressed outrage at the Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, who faced with what he called a Hobson's choice between supporting a Republican-authored funding bill or inciting a government shutdown, wrangled a coalition of Democrats to pass the spending measure. The decision has unleashed a torrent of anger from his party's base, forcing him to postpone a book tour. My guy, don't do a fucking book tour. Work for us. Tommy. He had to postpone a book tour as he defends himself against calls to step down as leader, because he is currently minority leader. On Sanders and Ocasio-Cortez's Western tour, the New York representative was interrupted by intermittent calls to primary Chuck. Man, I imagine that whole ordeal, that whole chant could go, primary Chuck, he's a cuck. Primary Schumer. He's no Coomer. Anyway. In recent years, Democrats have sought to capitalize on the bubbling backlash to the disorienting opening months of Trump's second term. Following Sanders' lead, many Democrats are hosting town halls in Republican-held districts to draw attention to Musk's slash-and-burn cost-cutting project and Republican proposals that would almost certainly result in cuts to social safety programs. Robbie Lambert, who's 70, a retired special education teacher, said keeping up with the turmoil in Washington was beginning to feel like a full-time job. Just that afternoon, Trump had signed an executive order aimed at dismantling the Department of Education. Yeah. Dorito says, Knack is my Discord message earlier. You had a Discord message earlier? You haven't sent me any Discord messages in, like, days. I'm looking at my Discord messages. I see nothing. Now, if you're talking about the message in the mod chat, that had nothing to do with this. But still. Alayla says, my 2 senators have been holding town halls in every county, including red ones, every year for like 2 decades. Yeah. Isn't it super cool and weird then that Marjorie Taylor Greene, let me see if I can find this bit here. Do I have it here? I don't think I do. Marjorie Taylor Greene didn't host any town halls in all of 2025 so far. Last year, she hosted a town hall in February. But she has chosen not to host any for the first 4 months, basically. Just kind of nutty. Just kind of nutty. Said, wow, what a great representative. I know, right? After she literally had what was called the town hall tour last year. I think she thinks she's a fucking celebrity. Is there anything else in here that I care about? The joint appearance by the 35-year-old New York representative and the Vermont senator who she has said inspired her to run for office naturally raised the question, is Ocasio-Cortez the heir to the progressive movement Sanders has been building since before she was born? I think she's definitely one of them. There's a reason we have the term the squad to refer to her, Ian Omar, and a few others as, like the group of people that you go for progressive politics from the Democratic Party. Dorito Dave says she can't host town halls if she's busy slobbing on Trump and wanting to be governor. True. Sakura says radical centrism is centrism for centrism's sake. It's not actually the center, but a faux center that allows the further right party to move even further right. Yup. And this ends up dragging the Democrats to the right with Republicans. That's the thing. I'm firmly of the believer that the Overton window and the social zeitgeist by extension has a limit. There is a limit to what we can and will tolerate. As the Overton window favors fascism more, it tends to hate socialism more. It tends to hate communism more. It tends to hate these things more and more. And as oligarchy takes over, it tends to leave little room for capitalism. Now, when I say socialism, I'm meaning socialism as in the ideologies of socialism, but it is also just an economic system. Oligarchy is not necessarily an ideology so much as it is just a system of government where the money controls everything. Black Rose says we don't need a squad, we need the union. Yes, we need more people in general doing progressive shit, because when more people do progressive shit, it forces the Overton window further progressive. When AOC has something to say, I listen, said Jonas Prado, who's 32, who's a first responder. Norman Elson, who's 60, says, I hope she's the first woman president. Okay, so now it's glazing AOC for the presidential seat. I think that's an annoying thing. Even this article focused a lot of stuff on who's running for what. Who's running for stuff? Who's gonna win what? Like, Yahoo, I get it. Presidential and Senate races are money. They are money in your pockets because people are following that shit. But right now, the fight for workers' rights is a little more important than that. Just saying. Jasmine said I paid my dues for my local DSA chapter, so I'm officially a member. Nice. That's freaking cool. That's amazing. You also got your mom to join SAG-AFTRA? Hell yeah. I wish I could, but I need more voice acting opportunities before I can do that, and I've been way too busy to even seek out other opportunities. But, you know, like, if you need a voice for a project, I am hireable. That is just a thing to throw out there. But, anyway, the end result of all this, the end takeaway from all this is the Democratic Party needs reform, and luckily there are people within the Democratic Party who believe that. And Bernie and AOC doing this tour are certainly galvanizing the left and the progressives in the party to actually get the party changed for the better. That said, I am hoping that they end up visiting Atlanta, because I would very much like to be able to go to one of these things. Briar says, I think it's important to pick a cantaloupe because Trump was campaigning all 4 years. That might have contributed to why he won. To pick a cantaloupe? What is a cantaloupe? Dorito Dave says, hireable and breedable. Shut the fuck up. Anyways, guys, if you want to support me and what I do, please follow me over on Blue Sky. Check out my other project over at my Magic the Gathering channel. Also, maybe you can consider supporting me on Patreon. That would be really cool. And I even have a playmat available on Fourth Wall. Pick that up, play it at your local LGS. Tell people that I do make $15 decks for Magic the Gathering. That would be awesome. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't already, and check out my streams Mondays through Thursdays when there are not tornadoes or other things preventing me from doing those streams. Yeah! Anyway, thank you for watching, and insert end of video tagline here. Hey, thanks for making it to the end of the video. I really could not do any of this without all of you. Those of you watching, and especially those of you who support me on Patreon. I wanted to go ahead and take a minute to thank all of you who do that, because with YouTube being what it is these days, I really cannot do this full time without the support from each and every one of you. Those people would be Red Joker, Purple Poundini, Jemshin, Britzkrieg, Jupe the Malignant, Michael, Ravalern, Mabbity Babbity, Astral Frontier, Tales of Atonement, Nixie Chan, Kiri Artemis, Victorian Alchemist, I'm not saying the last part of that, and you know that, Lil Uraraka, Arcton Arclacier, Kiratorian, Dren Hadamata, Jordan M, John L, Lord Bleck, Smiling Game Master, and Fireshard. Thank you so very much. But since you're here, why not go ahead and try watching another one? There should be one that's on the screen right now. And if you are a patron of mine, I wanted to go ahead and thank you again for all of your support. There is still a video you could press though, if you'd like. I would appreciate it just a little bit.